Welcome back, everyone. Today we're returning to the Watercolor Pokemon series, part 3 of 4. Our subject for this piece is, of course, a shaymin who is keeping watch over a flower shop. I did that little bit of coloring in the background maybe in the first video. I'm not sure if it was part of the bit I had to cut out of the first video, but yeah, I did that a day or two before I actually finished the rest of this. But before we really get into it, I just wanted to note that the blurriness around the shaymin's eyes and nose was my bad. When I got done lining this piece, I realized I hadn't tested how this sepia liner reacted with water, so yeah, and then being my impatient self, I put a little bit of water on it before it had fully dried. So that's where that little bit of blurriness comes from. That's about my only gripe with this piece. Otherwise, in my beginner opinion at least, I like how it turned out. I've really been digging the aesthetic of Japanese flower shops lately. Maybe it has something to do with all the lo-fi I've been listening to, what can I say? Since I've had a lot of free time over the past few months, I also started a little plant collection as well, which was partially the inspiration for this background. There's so many different plants out there, y'all. Like so many different leaf and flower shapes and colors, it's mind-boggling. I could have filled up this background even more, but since I'm new to this, I didn't want to overwhelm myself with a ton of complex details. Although, you know, the temptation was really strong to just draw all the plants. I am working to make more complex backgrounds as something that I want on my to-do list. I think in the past I've tried to keep them fairly simple or fairly loose to where you can't really, like, your brain can fill in what's back there, but nothing is like distinct. And yeah, I kind of want to work on that with future pieces, just like actually drawing out the background elements, you know. But I had a pretty clear idea in my head of what the color scheme would be for this piece. I made sure I pre-mixed some various greens and blue greens and yellow greens for this, as well as some browns for the shelf the shaymin is sitting on and the flower pots. I really love working on the plants because green is one of my favorite colors, so getting to use it this much in one piece was just, yes please. So if I remember correctly, I only used 1 or 2 brushes for this whole piece. I found that I prefer working with smaller brushes unless I'm trying to cover a large area, but since these pieces are so small, I didn't run into that issue a whole lot. This piece had a more defined background flora than the others did, so I really needed that smaller brush to get into the nooks and crannies of the plant's line art. Speaking of nooks and crannies, I have to mention something about this paper. I don't know if this is really petty or stupid or nitpicky, and I don't know if this is a watercolor paper thing in general. I'm guessing it is because of all the texture, but holy crap, it collects so much dust. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, normally you can just casually wipe dust off your paper if it's been sitting there and cool, you're good to go. But for this paper, I feel like I needed to run over this with a lint roller because it just grabbed that dust out of the air and would not let go. But I've learned my lesson to not leave pieces sitting out for long periods of time before I work on them. So yeah. Anywho, something I've actually been enjoying about working with watercolors that actually surprised me was the fact that I have to work on them almost like a puzzle while I wait for certain areas to dry. I'm the type of person that likes to jump around a lot from task to task and project to project instead of spending a lot of time on one thing. So I guess working on watercolor pieces is like a micro version of that, and I guess it just helps keep me from getting bored, which is really nice. These flowers I'm working on here were inspired by the bright orange flowers on a hibiscus plant I got a month or 2 ago. They're probably my favorite out of all the flowering plants I've gotten this summer. They're huge and they're so saturated and gorgeous, and I almost lost them to Japanese beetles a couple of weeks ago, but some 7 dust fixed that right up. I would have been so sad if they gotten destroyed. But I feel like my phone camera didn't really do the colors of this piece justice in general, so I'm just gonna say that that orange looks a lot better in person. On that subject, if anyone has recommendations for a decent camera that won't break the bank for recording art videos, I'd love to hear them. But back on the subject of the flowers, I enjoyed adding these little pops of color to break up the greens and browns. I feel like they brought more interest to the piece. although I wish I had been brave enough to attempt more of a natural looking gradient on those instead of just making them one color for the most part, so maybe something to work on next time. And as we're getting to the end of this piece, y'all probably know the drill if you've seen the other two watercolor Pokemon videos. I used some colored pencils to reinforce some of the shadows and add some extra texture to this piece. And once again, I brought out my white Sakura and Posca pens to add some highlights and background noise. That about wraps it up for this piece. We have one more left to go in this series before I get into my next project, which is Smoggest. I love drawing dragons, and as of recording this voiceover, I already have a piece lined up to color and some other ones thumbnailed out, so I can't wait to turn those into videos for you guys. The prompt list I'm working off is super cute, and I feel super inspired to work on this challenge, so yeah, I'm excited. And As always, thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions for how to make these videos better, or art supplies you'd like to see me try, or subjects you'd like to see me draw, please let me know in the comments. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you'll stick around for more. Bye everyone!